In the first question from assignment 1, the first part asks us to express 8x minus x squared in the form a minus x plus b all squared. And then once we've done that, to state the numerical values that correspond to a and b. So when we look at this, it's completed square form. The negative here is just because we've got a negative x squared over on this side. So really that's all we're wanting to do, complete the square. So I would start by writing this as negative x squared plus 8x, because this is the form that's easier for us to see. Then I would take that negative out. We're used to doing it, completing the square where we've got positive coefficients of x. So I have x squared minus 8x. Now at this point we know that we can look at the coefficient on the x and halve it to make our beginning. So we keep our negative here, but we're really just focusing on the bracket. So we've now got x minus 4 all squared. So we could just go over here to a bit of scrap working and expand that if we weren't quite sure what we had. So x minus 4 all squared will give us x squared minus 8x plus 16. Okay. Now we have to remember this negative sign out the front. So if that's what x minus 4 all squared gives us, then the negative of x minus 4 all squared must give us the opposite of this line. So negative x squared plus 8x minus 16. And the reason we needed to check that is because this minus 16 here on the end has been created by accident. So we're going to end up with a minus 16 over here, which means that we need to add 16 to it to get back to the original statement. So now we've written 8x minus x squared in the form required. We could tidy it up a bit and put our 16 out the front. So 16 minus x minus 4 all squared. And now we can say a equals 16 and b equals negative 4. So that's question 1, part 1 done. And now part 2. Part 2 says find the set of values for which y is greater than or equal to 20. There's a couple of ways we could do this. We could look at it graphically, so we could draw a quick sketch of what we've got here. So this is saying that our negative parabola and where is it going to sit. So we could do it by our graph. So we know that we've got to move to the right 4, and we go 16 up, and it's a negative parabola, so it's going to be shaped like this. Now it's only a very quick sketch, but we can already see that when y equals 20, which is what we're asked to find, we're asked to find all values of x that allow y to be greater than or equal to 20, and we can see that there won't be any. So we could draw a graph and we could say vertex of negative parabola, because it is upside down, and that's the key thing really, is that that parabola value is, that vertex is the maximum value, gives maximum y value of 16. So now we know there are no x values where y will be greater than 20. Therefore, no x values where y is greater than or equal to 20. And we're done. The other alternative is that we could look at using the quadratic formula, and we could substitute in into our discriminant. So b squared minus 4ac. Now if we look at this, we're looking to make this, well, first of all, let's just see what we get out of it. So in terms of b squared, if we look back at our original, it's probably easier to look at. So that gives us 8 squared minus 4 times a, which is negative 1, times c, which is in this case 0. No, it's not. Scrub that. We're looking first, let's set up the correct equation. We're looking for 8x minus x squared to be greater than or equal to 20, because we're looking for y is greater than or equal to 20. And so now if we want to rearrange this equation so that we can make it equal to 0 and solve it, we'll have 8x minus x squared minus 20 is greater than or equal to 0. And now we can use the quadratic formula. Let's go for it at this point. So b squared minus 4ac becomes 8 squared minus 4 times negative 1 times negative 20. Alright, so now we're looking at 64 minus 80. We've got 3 negative signs, so we're going to end up negative here. So we're taking the square root when we look at our discriminant. We're in the quadratic formula, we're taking the square root of negative 16. So therefore, we're saying the discriminant is less than 0, therefore no solutions. Now that's not enough to explain the question, because the question says to us to find x values that give y greater than or equal to 20. So we'll need to make some final statement that says, therefore, no x values which give y is greater than or equal to 20. Right? So two different ways of doing it, one by the graph and the other by setting it up algebraically, saying that our equation has to be greater than or equal to 20. And when we solve that, rather than going through the whole of the quadratic formula, looking first at the discriminant, the piece under the square root sign, to see what value we get from there. In both ways, we discover that there are no x values that are possible for the y values listed.